Hello and welcome to BELFOR's COVID-19 Town Hall Question and Answer Forum. My name is Matt Horgan. I'm with BELFOR Environmental, National Program Manager. BELFOR Environmental works primarily with hazardous materials, including chemical and biological. And we're part of the BELFOR family, and our role is to remove any kind of environmental hazards that are impeding the restoration process. Also with us is Kirk Lively, our Director of Technical Services. Technical Services Group provides different support functions, including evaluation of disinfectants, technology, tooling, and also solutions for our more technical customers. In addition to Kirk, we have Tom Yacobelis, who's with our DUCTZ division. Tom's here to provide his industry knowledge and describe our capability for ducting and HVAC service that may be necessary. And finally, we also have David Watts, who is with CTEH, which is our important partner. David is a certified industrial hygienist and is here to provide expertise in epidemiology and infectious disease. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you to the panel. Some questions have come in. I think the first few questions are probably best answered by you, David. David, someone sent in this question. What is the length of time the virus remains viable on surfaces?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Several studies have demonstrated the active virus could be found on surfaces anywhere from hours to days, and porous materials such as cardboard and paper may have the virus for up to several days, while hard surfaces like glass and metal may only have the virus for several hours.
Okay, thank you. David, our next question seems to be best answered by you also. How can it be tested that we have cleaned appropriately?
Yeah, Matt, current test practices use a technique called polymerase chain reaction. It's PCR. This test will form and detect any of the virus based on a genome sequence and the presence of that genome. The RNA of the virus can be found with a swab sample, and the virus could be found, but it may be viable or non-viable.
Okay, thank you. Kirk, looks like the next one may be for you. Will the disinfectant application cause any damage to electronics or other sensitive components?
Thanks, Matt. I've had this question posed several times. And, the disinfectant needs to be applied lightly and uniformly in order to allow the surfaces to remain damp for the required dwell time. But if it's applied correctly, it won't cause any damage to the electronic components. And the entire piece of equipment should be completely dry within 30 minutes to an hour. And we need to remember that the real target of the application are the exterior surfaces that can be touched by a person. But we've had clients still worried about that. So if there's any doubt or concern over those sensitive components, instead of spraying them, we can just wipe them down and make sure that we don't have any excess moisture on them.
Very good. Thank you, Kirk. Another question looks like it may be for you, Kirk. How can we be assured that the cleaning has been effective and the facility is safe for personnel?
Sure. One good thing is that the coronavirus is really relatively easy to kill. So that's not the problem. But BELFOR only utilizes approved safe products from the EPA list N. And these products are applied, as specified by the label directions and the manufacturer. And again, I mentioned the dwell time earlier. We want to make sure that we get it damp enough so that the item remains with moisture, with dampness for the full dwell time required on that product, and it will achieve virus deactivation.
Yeah, very important. Thank you. And what are your treatment processes and why? Kirk, this probably couples with what you just said there. If you could address that. What are your treatment processes and why?
Yeah, we're really just using two processes. We use a combination of wiping and spraying. So for surfaces that are dirty or touched frequently, they need to be cleaned first because there may be a buildup of soiling or oils on those items. So they may not be penetrated if you simply sprayed them. So it's not as easy as just walking in, spraying a disinfectant and walking back out. So those surfaces that could have soiling on them really need to be wiped down, and they need to be wiped clean, but make sure that it maintains enough moisture to keep the dwell time as well.
Okay, thank you. This next question is a pretty popular question. I think it's becoming more and more valid as we get closer to reopening businesses, which is what we're all hoping for. But anyway, David, I think this may be best answered by you. If the building has been closed for a month, is it still important to clean that building?
Yeah, Matt, it's highly unlikely that any form of the active or viable form of the virus would still be present after several weeks or even a month or more, without human occupancy. But however, there is a perception issue that employers must overcome with respect to how comfortable employees will feel returning to work, as well as even how patrons or customers coming in their establishment may feel. And these perceptions could in fact impact worker productivity as well as customer traffic.
Yes, thank you. The perceptions are definitely a valid consideration. Our next question, how soon after your cleaning can the building be reoccupied? I think I'll go ahead and take this one. Depending on the chemical or the disinfectant used, really it could be as soon as 20 minutes or so after we've completed our work. Typically, the dwell time is somewhere between 4 and 10 or 15 minutes, depending on the chemical that we're using. And once the dwell time is up, if the product doesn't require any further attention, it just simply evaporates. And as long as ventilation is adequate, we typically can turn spaces over pretty quickly. The next question has to do with HVAC and ducting systems. I think we will maybe include David and Tommy both on this. The question is, does the HVAC need to be cleaned because of COVID-19? I think, David, maybe you can give us your thoughts on HVAC treatment, and then Tommy, you can follow up.
Yeah, sure, Matt. There actually may be certain contact points which warrant cleaning, such as thermostats or return grills or supply air diffusers. But however, complete cleaning of the HVAC may not be necessary. And given that many of these HVAC systems will have sat idle or offline or even not received routine maintenance or servicing for weeks or months, it's really important that building owners have these systems assessed for cleanliness. There's likely going to be accumulation of some mold or biological growth in these systems, such as evaporator coils and condensate pans and some of the mixing chambers.
Tommy, what do you think?
Although the air conditioning systems are unlikely to contain active virus, it's highly recommended that the key components of the HVAC system be visually assessed for the internal conditions and documented with the focus on the air handlers and the outlying VAV boxes. Systems that have been dormant for weeks could have other issues such as strong odors from mold, mildew, and bacteria, and those odors can also cause concern with employees inside the facility. These assessments are very low cost and establish a long-term and a short-term plan for the customer and the client to move the air conditioning system forward.
Thank you very much. I think that wraps us up for today. Please keep the questions coming, and we'll hold another town hall meeting to discuss the COVID-19 soon. Thank you all for joining us, and please send your questions.